Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Hope you're all fit and well. And I'm going to say good morning to Tim Ray, who's just crept in while I wasn't paying attention. Now I can hear myself for some reason. That's better. Must stop looking at myself on YouTube. Good morning, Tim. Thank you for joining us. Andy Darvell says another giant on the brink, and Tim, no, not Tim. Who was it that said it? Chris Ford, preempting what we're going to be talking about in just a moment. Yeah, Squib demo. Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Hope you're all fit and well. And so it begins. We've obviously been watching the machinations of the economy and its impact on the UK construction industry for quite some time now. Well, as you'll be hearing in our lead story, and as some people have preempted there, it seems that the fallout may have now hit the UK demolition sector as well. Although the story is not yet over, I'm sure there'll be a lot of Squib Group employees now worried about whether Christmas will be on or off for them this year. Why is it always in the run up to Christmas? I'm not saying the prospect of losing your job is easy at any time of the year, but for most of us, Christmas is one of the most expensive periods of the year, and it's precisely the time when we're all craving job security. That seems to be exactly when these news stories break. We will be getting into the details of that news story in just a moment. And there's another one who's just joined us, Neil Edwards. Good morning, Mark. Just read the news about Squibb, a truly sad day for construction and demolition. There's Tim Ray. I'm ex-Squibb. I think last I heard Tim was over with Schultz, but he most certainly is ex-Squibb. When did you leave, Tim? Why did you leave, Tim? Did you see writing on the wall potentially? I know I'll get into it in just a moment, but certainly there's been rumours circulating for quite some time about the liquidity of the company. As far as I can tell, the fact that they were hit with a £2 million fine as a result of the CMA investigation, I don't believe that that's got any real role in the current situation, but I'll be keeping you posted. I'm going to say good morning to Ken Hatcher, and say good morning to Mick Wright and to Jim Turner as well. Tell you what, as I've already started to tell the story, let me get the intro out the way, and we'll get back to it in just a moment. So, as always, without further ado, let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, get this show on the road. Just before I kick things off, I'm going to throw over to Ken Hatcher. Morning, Ken. Where's Neil? He used to let us know how the country was going. Neil Edwards is in the chat. If you've got any specific questions about the UK construction industry, fire them at him. I'm sure he will try very, very hard to answer your questions. Tim Ray went back to Squibbs and they laid him off. Have I played yesterday's question of the day? I do apologise. In that case, I will come back to that. Yes, I can see that I have done precisely that. Mick, Mick's my son using my laptop, Mark. So I'm on this one. It's Mick Saunders. It's not Mick Wright. Morning, Mick. Anyway, and that's yesterday. Thank you, Jim. My apologies. There's Ken Hatcher. How's Wales going? I'll come back to our proper question of the day in just a moment. But let's get this nonsense underway, shall we? It is Thursday, the 26th of October. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony. In today's show, Squibb Group is on the brink. Bobcat rolls out yet another new product. Building resilience with John Deere. We're tackling a giant jigsaw puzzle with the assembly of a Cat 395 excavator. And is this the best looking crusher you have ever seen? It'll make more sense when you get to see it. But first, let's peer back through the mist of time to see what was happening on this very day in history. On this day in 1881, the gunfight at the OK Corral took place. If you've never seen the film Tombstone, I strongly recommend that you do so. brilliant film, and Val Kilmer's portrayal of Doc Holliday is even better. Should have got an Oscar. He may have done, but he should have done. In 1918, Cecil Chubb, we've talked about Cecil Chubb in the past, he basically gave Stonehenge to the British nation. On the same day, the First World War came to an end, which is probably bigger news. In 1951, Winston Churchill was re-elected as Prime Minister. In 1972, Alcatraz switched from high security prison to tourist trap. In 1981, Queen and David Bowie released the song Under Pressure. I know the feeling. And in 1984, the first Terminator movie was released in the US. Now, before we get into the real meat of the show, let me remind you of the proper question of the day, and I will put this in the chat in just a moment. Yes, the proper question, and I will type it out in just a second. Proper question comes from Mr. Muirhead, our quizmaster in chief. The question is this: if you were made king or queen, your choice, if you were made king or queen of the world for one day, what one rule would you impose? Now, personally, I'd require all citizens of the world to tune in on the to the Breakfast Show every single morning, which would then allow me to charge more for advertising, and then I could bask in my own glory. But aside from that, I think I'd like to make it law that we all just get along, regardless of race, creed, colour, religion, gender, class, or sexual preference. Just get along. What about you? What would be the one rule that you would change if you had the opportunity? Let us have your thoughts in the chat, and we will come back to that after the show. Now, onto the bad news. And as I've just said, we start with some potentially very bad news indeed. Squibb Group, one of the UK's biggest demolition companies, has applied for a company voluntary arrangement, that's a CVA, in an attempt to keep creditors at bay. The company has appointed administration specialist Begbie's trainer as it works to survive what is being described as a cash flow crisis. Demolition News spoke to one of the company's creditors this morning. They are scheduled to receive full details of the CVA today, but suggestions are that creditors will be offered 60 pence in the pound. A creditors meeting is scheduled for the 9th of November. Squib Group, you might recall, was among 10 NFDC member companies found guilty of a price fixing and bid rigging earlier this year, although the company is actually appealing the £2 million fine levied against it. However, even though a £2 million fine is a bitter pill to swallow for a company with a turnover of around £33 million last year, it's not believed that the CMA fine is responsible for the company's current predicament. Indeed, rumours surrounding the firm's liquidity were circulating long before the CMA handed down its fines in March of this year. Although the company could yet be pulled back from the brink, one industry pundit has described the current situation as potentially the biggest bankruptcy in British demolition history. Squib Group is one of the best known names in the UK demolition business and can trace its history back 75 years. And founder Harry Squibb, who started H. Squibb & Son, the company based out of Stepney in East London. His son, Leslie Squibb Sr., joined the company in 1969 and was still chairman until his sad passing in 2020. However, he did survive long enough to see the opening of the company's state-of-the-art headquarters at Stanford La Hope back in 2018. We'll be talking about that a bit more a bit later in the show. But obviously, if you are currently working with Squib Group, regardless of whether you're a director or an employee, our fingers are crossed for you. It's too big a name to go down, and too historic a name as well. I know I think they've slipped out of the top 10 of UK demolition companies, but I've certainly always found them to be great people to work with, not least of which because Les Squibb Junior rather is a big West Ham fan, as am I, and I've done a couple of jobs with them, including the visit to their work over at Fortress Wapping a few years ago. My fingers are crossed, they really are. We'll discuss it more as we go along.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Right, I'm going to throw over to the chat very, very quickly on a variety of things. There's Mick saying, I don't think the CMA helped, but Squibb had been on a downward slide for a couple of years. As I say, I've checked back through my notes, and I've got, I wouldn't say so much as question marks, but certainly the rumour mill was in full swing around about this time last year, funnily enough, saying that all was not well. But they soldiered on and soldiered on. And somebody said to me last night when I was talking to them about this, unfortunately, it's a bit, this situation with the company is a bit like a gambler chasing their losses. You know, one last bet, and that might get me across the line, and that might get us back to where we need to be. And I kind of sense that's been going on here. I mentioned the movie Tombstone, one of my favourite modern westerns. It could even make me cry too. It is that good. And Val Kilmer, wow. Neil Edwards says, why did it happen for Christmas? Good percentage of problems come with the lack of new starts on projects, with clients opting for an effective New Year start. Therefore, cash flow within businesses takes a huge hit. Yeah, I know Construction Inquirer are this morning reporting that there is some issue with a project. I think it's for the co-op up in Hull. No idea quite what that's all about. Neil Edwards responding to Ken Hatcher. Thank you, Ken. Yes, back online today. Don't want to upset your day and details of Wales, but all I can say is it's tough out there. I think Ken had probably figured that much out. Sad news for the demolition industry. It really is. It really is. I mean, through its various iterations, Squibb and Davis, Squibb Demolition, Squib Group, and all of that. You know, as I say, it is one of the very, very best known names in the UK demolition industry. It would be an awful shame if they were to go under. Jim Turner, question of the day. Anyone that starts a war or invades another country has to be right there leading from the front. If they believe their cause that much, they can be right into the line of fire, like all the other poor buggers are. Jim, I agree with 99.9% of what you say anyway, but I couldn't agree with that more. I do remember thinking that very thing when we were going into search for weapons of mass destruction. I remember thinking, okay, Mr. Blair, you first. More than happy to back you up, but you first. If you're that keen on it, let's have a look. Gary Muirhead, I'd quite like to end the show on that. Question of the day. What one rule would you impose if you were king of the world? Just peace, love, and harmony around the world. Not a lot to ask, is it? I mean, bearing in mind it is 2023, and we have spent centuries at war over religion and land and money and all other types of nonsense. Wouldn't it just be easier if we all just got along? Neil Edwards, question of the day. If you park in a disabled spot and you're not a disabled car, your car is immediately disabled. Yeah, I can see people agreeing with that one as well. Have I ever parked in a disabled bay? Rather not discuss it, but I don't do it very often, I promise. Now, let's have some of this, shall we?
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
At the beginning of this week, we brought you the news that Bobcat was expanding its product offering into allied industry sectors, such as landscaping and warehousing. Well, today we're going to look at another brand new Bobcat product, only this one is actually for an application just a little bit closer to home.
Bobcat TR75 trench roller is a powerful vibratory machine that delivers unbeatable compaction in difficult terrains. I'm Joe Thomas with Bobcat. Let's take a look at this remotely controlled compaction machine. With its infrared remote control, operators can take on tough compaction tasks, controlling every movement from comfortable distance, which is great for reducing operator fatigue. The Bobcat trench roller has 2 amplitude settings and centrifugal weights, and each drum for exceptional compaction performance on a wide variety of soils and applications. Drum extensions are included as a standard equipment and provide a width of 33.5 inches. The drum extensions can easily be removed for narrow trench work. The pad foot drums increase penetration to efficiently compress cohesive soils or dense clays. The TR75 has a tight turning radius, low center of gravity, and an oscillating articulation joint. 2 steering cylinders provide increased turning power and accuracy in soft soils. These features make the machine highly maneuverable and allow it to maintain more complete contact with the ground. It works great in pipeline construction, structural backfill tasks, and other commercial, industrial, and residential development work. Look to the Bobcat TR75 trench roller for exceptional compaction performance in the challenging conditions on a wide range of materials. For more information on the Bobcat trench roller, see your local Bobcat dealer or learn more at bobcat.com.
Yeah, someone earlier said earlier this week, and I think it may have been Gary Muirhead said it. I think it's time we all moved on from describing Bobcat as that skid steer company. There's way more to them these days. Going to throw over to the chat again because we've had some new arrivals. Our friend Graham Footy Williams has turned up. Good morning to you. Very good job, he says. I saw Peter McKenna as well. A few got lost, twists and turns, a few red lights and a few green lights. Quick kettle flick and fill the cup, and now I'm here, folks. Hope everyone is well. We're all fit and well, and we are talking, well, we're talking about a variety of things, but one of the main things we're talking about is the potential crisis at Squibb Group. And his answer to the question of the day, Peter McKenna says, religion has caused more deaths than any other sect. Don't get me started, because I have some very strong views on religion. That's a whole other story. Now, let's have some of this, shall we? Tract crushers are not sexy. There, I said it. They're big and boxy, and all they do is turn big rocks at one end into little rocks at the other. However, it turns out there are exceptions. This new Mobicat from Kleeman is one smart-looking crusher.
Cost-effectiveness, intuitive operation, and sustainability. These were the top priorities during the development of the Mobicat MC110 Evo 2. It's Kleeman's super efficient high performer, with a focus on optimal material flow. The powerful crusher unit, in combination with the intelligent CFS feed control system, ensures continuous crusher utilization. With our load reduction and overload systems, we offer two innovative solutions for virtually uninterrupted operation. And with our innovative D-Drive concept, we combine cost-effectiveness and sustainability. The efficient and powerful crusher direct drive, in combination with a power-dependent fan, ensures low noise and economical operation. Together with our Eco Mode, we can also further reduce consumption and wear during idling phases. Noise reduction measures have enabled us to considerably reduce noise emissions by 4 to 7 dB. This enables the machine to be used even more flexibly, for example, in urban environments. The operation is also exceptionally flexible. In fact, we have set all new standards with our operating concept, Spective. And the evolution goes one significant step further. With a large Spective radio remote control, the MC110 Evo 2 can be completely set up and moved, easily and from a safe distance. With the small Spective radio remote control and Spective Connect, on the other hand, we have extended the plant's operation into the excavator. The operator always has the crusher's current performance data in view and can make changes to the settings without having to exit the excavator. This makes operation much easier and safer while increasing productivity. A multitude of innovations, proven technology, and intuitive operation all lead to an overall result that is impressive, both economically and sustainably, making the Mobicat MC110 Evo 2 the best mobile jaw crusher from the Evo series that we have ever built.
Still not sure I'd want it as a poster on my bedroom wall, but I think you'll agree, as crushers go, that is a good-looking specimen. At least I thought so. Peter McKenna, not quite so sure. Sorry, Mark, looks just like a few on the market. Maybe it was the blue. Maybe it was seeing something in blue. Just, I don't know. Lots and lots to talk about in the chat, but we need to crack on. I'll get to that immediately after the show.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Our penultimate film of the day comes from the fine folks at John Deere. I'm not going to introduce it for several reasons, partly because it speaks for itself, but also because I was busily writing about Squib Group this morning. Didn't have a chance to do that. But as I say, the video speaks for itself. Sit back and enjoy. 3 and a bit minutes. John Deere.
Once I got here, I was pleasantly surprised how radically different the culture of Ajax is compared to other places I've worked. There is a genuine familial feel to the atmosphere here, both in the office and in the field. Some genuine care and concern for the people around you. There's no typical work day. If there are multiple phone calls before 7 a.m., that's probably how the day's gonna go. I kind of jokingly tell people I'm a firefighter. My role is really when problems arise on job sites that cannot be easily rectified, I get a phone call. When you take a roadway that maybe was in very poor condition and reconstruct it to something that is easily traversable, there's a sense of pride there. There's a sense of pride in how it looks when something is paved very well. I don't think it can be overstated how important it is to truly connect with the people you work with. And that takes a bit of vulnerability. It takes the willingness to risk putting yourself out there so that they see the humanity in you, and in turn, they can feel seen, and that's where genuine connection is built.
The guys in the field every morning have a daily huddle, have a safety talk for the day, and part of the safety talks we do now revolve around mental health. We're open to talking about that. It's a tough industry. Days, nights, days lead to sleep deprivation. There's a fair amount of injuries in the business. We began this mental health journey. We're now in month 18. We rolled slowly out. I really think that the mental health piece that we've done in our company has had a huge impact. We like to think that we're the employer of choice, we're the contractor of choice, and we're the partner of choice. Florida Department of Transportation is our largest customer. We're primarily an asphalt producer that lays asphalt as well. We build roads. We do a lot of design build work. We've become very successful with design build in the last few years. I think we have a great culture. We have phenomenal people. Their attitude, their efforts, we encourage them to think outside of the box.
In my current position, I'm responsible for all the rolling stock. That's approximately $35 million worth of fleet. So we're in charge of maintenance, purchasing, disposal, and controlling the overall life cycle and trying to get the most out of the fleet. For us, like most contractors, uptime is everything. So we need the machines to run and we need them to be reliable. So that starts by having a good manufacturer like John Deere, and then you got to have trained dealer support after that to keep the machines running. You have to be nimble because the weather changes on the fly. It might rain 2 o'clock and it might be done by 3 o'clock and you're working again. So it makes scheduling challenging. I would say it starts with the family atmosphere. We want to help each other. There's a common goal to win. That's the kind of stuff that really separates Ajax.
I really do like those customer to the fore films. Spend half my life listening to manufacturers telling me about features and benefits. Those are the real features and benefits. And I'm glad somebody else picked up on this. Peter McKinnon says, if all companies work like that, life would be so much easier. Absolutely. And isn't it refreshing to actually have like a corporate video where mental health is discussed? Fair play to them. Andy Darvell says, it looks like a great company to work for. Starting to move that way over here slowly. Hopefully staff's health will be the most important thing in all companies soon. Let's hope. All of which kinds of brings us full circle to the lead story of the day. Obviously, Squib Group on the brink. There will be employees now worried about their job security. and I realise the last thing that Squib Group at the moment is probably going to be looking to do is offer them any kind of emotional or mental health counselling. But I would imagine there'll be a fair few people that could severely need that right now. We'll talk about it more in the chat afterwards. Lots of ground to cover on that one. So let me get this out of the way, and then we've got our final film.
If you would like to buy a limited edition Break Fast show sticker, head on over to buymeacoffee.com/demolition news/extras.
It's stated the obvious, but Gary Muirhead just said the biggest asset to any company is its employees. Unfortunately, I think you see that on a lot of mission statements. I wonder how many people or how many companies actually follow that through. According to Peter McKenna, he bleeds green. Do you really? Okay, I'll take your word for it. Now, we're going to play out today with footage of a giant 3-dimensional jigsaw puzzle. This is what it takes to get a Cat 395 excavator ready for work. Completely lost my place now. That's thrown me completely. I know what it was. Yes, me, as someone that can't assemble an IKEA table, that looks truly daunting to me, but I think you'll have to agree. The outcome is more than worth it. Lots of good comments on that, including Jim Turner with his tune. Yes, absolutely. It really was a very impressive machine. Now, because of all that's going on at the moment, and because I'm kind of bored with it, there's no gripe of the day today. In fact, in the interest of progression of the show, I'm probably going to drop the entire thing, and we'll be filling the gaps with something else. So that pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into the chat to see what you're all saying today. My guess is there's an awful lot of chat to be had about the current predicament at Squib Group. I'm more than happy to take your comments and the questions on that. If you can't stick around for that, please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I'll be right back for the Craic immediately after this final word from our key show sponsor. Good morning, all. Good morning. I'm saying good morning. Is it necessarily a good morning? I will get to the chat in just a moment. But obviously the biggest news in the sector at the moment, or in the industry at the moment, is the current cash flow crisis at Squib Group. They've, just to go back to the very beginning, they've appointed Begbie's trainer, who are administration specialists. The letter from, or the, I think they refer to it as the administration pack, is being sent to creditors. They're all expected to receive theirs today. I spoke to one of the creditors first thing this morning who reckons he is being offered 60 pence in the pound, and the guy that I spoke to has no intention of taking that. So yes, not looking good. Again, I will stress the fat lady hasn't started singing yet. There is still the hope that the Squibb family and the Squib Group will turn it around and bring it back from the brink, but it is not looking great at the moment. So lots and lots of things to talk about with that. One of the things that us journalists do, because we are kind of programmed in this way, we tend to look at this sort of time at the number of people that are employed and the potential impact upon those employees. Now, obviously, if you get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock every morning to go and do your work for Squib Group, whether as I know one of our viewers at the moment, Tim Ray, used to be one of their high reach operators. I can understand why everyone would be concerned with those guys and girls. They get up first thing in the morning, they put in their day's graft, they do an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. They've kept their end of the bargain, and yet they find themselves potentially staring down the barrel of potential unemployment. But I would like to spare a thought very, very quickly for the directors, Les and Wes Squibb. Now, bearing in mind, I was trying to remember, because I know I put it in the script earlier. Let me go back. Yeah. Les Squibb Sr. passed away in 2020. So you've got a company that can trace its history back for 75 years, a proper, strong family firm, father to son to another son, and so on down the line. So, as I say, imagine being Les and Wes Squibb at the moment. 75-year legacy, looking somewhat precarious at the moment. So yes, my thoughts are unquestionably with the employees, unquestionably with the creditors. I don't know who they are. I've heard talk about HMRC being the biggest. That is often the case. But I am personally, I'm going to spare a thought for the Squibb family themselves. Always got on very well with Les. I like him a lot, not just because he's a West Ham fan, although that does go a long way. So yeah, I sincerely hope that they can turn it around. Yeah, we'll come back to all of that, but I'm going to go back to the beginning of the chat. First off the mark this morning, appropriately, was Gary Muirhead. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, everybody. Morning, Gary. Can you see it? Now, let me get my fingers right. There. That's my new plaque. Doesn't show up very well on there, does it? I can see what it says, but I'm not sure you'll be able to, particularly if anyone's watching on a mobile phone. But it's there. It's there. I may have to have a bit of a reshuffle. Maybe it belongs on the table behind me here. I don't know. We'll get it in shot one of these days. Glenn Johnston is here as well. Morning, Glenn. Hope you're fitting well, my friend. Chris Ford, I think, summing up the views of pretty much everybody in the industry. As I say, not a huge surprise. Although, one thing I would say about one of the issues that I have doing the job that I do is the rumour mill is forever in motion. Rarely a day goes by when I don't receive a phone call or a text or a WhatsApp message saying that somebody else is in trouble, somebody's had an accident, there's something up with somebody else, and so on down the line. And I tend to, I make a note of it, but you kind of dismiss a large proportion of it. But I was tipped the wink on Squib Group about a year ago to say that all was not well. But they seem to still be winning work and still progressing and everything else. But there was that bit nagging away in the back of my brain that maybe all was not well. And here's one of the things that I'm not entirely sure how you go about doing this. One of the issues that we have whenever a company finds itself in this predicament is it all comes down to one final decision. And in this instance, it is applying for a CVA, a company voluntary arrangement. The problem with that, as far as I can see, is that by that point, it's probably too late for a lot of the creditors. And it's the same thought that I have whenever there's an accident investigation, like the Didcot one. You know, I personally would be, you know, I still think nearly 8 years is too long to take to investigate Didcot. But if there had been some preliminary findings, then I think I'd be taking it a little bit easier on the HSE and the Thames Valley Police. And I would say the same about a CVA. You've got a lot of creditors out there who, you know, some might actually choose, you know, they might have a long-term relationship. The money that they're owed is not potentially damaging to their business. And they might actually, you know, if somebody were to say, look, we do have an issue. We're not at that point yet, but we do have an issue. Can you work with us? You know, rather than our 30, 60 days or 90 days credit, can we discuss something else? Take the pressure off with one bit. Now, that won't work with HMRC because I can tell you from bitter experience, they take no prisoners. But I do wonder if there is a point somewhere along the line where you could draw a line in the sand and say, look, we are facing a bit of a problem here, but we are willing to work with you if you're willing to work with us. And I realise the problem with that, much the same as I've said about the accidents. There is always a concern about prejudicing any forthcoming court case, which is why we don't have preliminary findings in accident and fatality investigations. And I guess if a company like Squibb were to put its head above the parapet and say, we have some financial concerns, I would imagine that everybody would just put in winding up orders. But it does feel like they because of the way that the law works, it all goes down to one day where a letter is issued that says, we've got a problem, we can't pay you. I'm sure in this day and age there must be a better way than doing that. There's Andy Dalvell. Good morning, Andy. Good of you to join us. Tim Ray, ex of Squibbs. I don't know if we got to the bottom of exactly where Tim is at the moment. I know he was with Squibbs. I think he was with Schultz. I don't know if he still is. But yes, good morning, Tim. Good of you to join us. I saw you actually pop up on, I can't remember if it's my LinkedIn or my Facebook earlier today, but welcome. Another giant on the brink. Yeah, I mean, this broke. I heard a whisper. Well, I heard a lot of whispers late last night, but obviously it was too late for me to get on the phone and speak to Begbie's trainer. Couldn't get through to anyone in any senior position this morning, so still haven't got it copper bottomed from the administrator's point of view. But I spoke to a friend of mine last night, and he said this could potentially be the biggest bankruptcy in the history of the UK demolition industry. I don't know if that is true. It's in my memory, it certainly feels like it. But I've got to go and do the maths on that. If anybody knows any better, I'd love to hear from you. Ken Hatcher is in the house. Got some surprising weather by the looks of it. Welcome to Wales, I guess. And Neil Edwards. Good morning, Mark. Just read the news about Squibbs. A truly sad day for construction and demolition. Yeah, and don't let's be fooled into thinking that this is a purely demolition problem. Those creditors will extend, one would imagine, to fuel companies that serve the construction industry as well, to plant hire companies that also serve the construction industry, material suppliers potentially, and so on down the line. This is obviously, Squibb is primarily a demolition company, but I would imagine there will be a knock-on effect over into construction. And the problem again, and maybe this is right. I mean, I have a personal issue with HMRC anyway. But when you look at the documents that always follow this kind of thing, HMRC are not only usually the biggest of the creditors, but they get first dibs on any money that's going. If you are a plant hirer or a waste tip that's owed 5, 10, 20 grand, your chances of getting your money are slim indeed. But yeah, bad news around. And there is Tim Ray. I am ex-Squibb. I think he comes back up. We'll get to that. There's our friend Mick. Jim Turner's here as well. Ken Hatcher. Where's Neil? He used to let us know how the country was going. I'll be back to him in a sec. Went back and they laid off this year. Again, It is worth remembering that Squib Group were part of the CMA 10. They were one of the 10 NFTC members that were caught up in this bid rigging, price fixing shenanigans. £60 million in fines in total. Squib Group, I think, was one of the smallest fines. Just like £2 million isn't a lot of money. Just £2 million for Squibs, and they were appealing it. And they said that the fine was disproportionate at the time. It may well have been. I don't know quite what the ins and outs of that are. But with hindsight, were they fighting it because it was disproportionate, or were they fighting it because they actually didn't have the money to pay it? I'm sure that will all come out in the fullness of time. I had the wrong question of the day, so ignore that one because we've got another one in just a second. Thank you very much indeed for pointing that out, Jim. As you can imagine, I got up this morning and just literally dived straight into the whole Squib thing. So playing catch up ever since. There's Ken Hatcher saying, "How's Wales going?" Not well by the sound of it. Charlie Austin, morning, Charlie. Good to see you back again. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. There's Mick Saunders saying, "I don't think the CMA helped, but Squib has been on a downward spiral, or slide rather, for a couple of years." Yeah, as I say, the notes that I've got date back to just over a year, maybe 13 months or something like that, when I first made a note of keep an eye on that, but never really did get to the bottom of it. But obviously it's now all come home to roost. I mentioned the movie Tombstone, one of my favourite modern westerns, says Jim Turner. It can even make me cry too. And I'm sure some of that will go down to Val Kilmer's portrayal of Doc Holliday. Wouldn't say I'm generally a Val Kilmer fan. He was a terrible Batman. Good in a few bits and pieces, Top Gun and stuff like that. But in this, it's like a masterclass. It's absolutely fantastic. He is suffering from TB, but still, he's taken on this complete southern drawl. And what's the line? I'm your Huckleberry. Makes sense if you've seen it. Yeah, go and have a look. You'll thank me and Jim. So I asked why companies going down the pan, or potentially going down the pan, seems to happen around Christmas. Neil Edwards has an answer, as he often does. Why does it happen for Christmas? A good percentage of problems come with the lack of new starts on projects, with clients opting for an effective New Year start. Therefore, cash flow within businesses takes a huge hit. I can vouch for that. I mean, we don't work in quite the same way here, but we've got no... That's not strictly true, but I mean, we generally have kind of a pipeline of new projects that will take us through weeks and sometimes months and sometimes even into the new year. As it stands at the moment, we've got bits and pieces between now and the new year, because everything else we're talking about, and some of ours is weather dependent, much the same as construction. You know, where we're doing video work and photography work, obviously people want their machines and their projects to be seen in the best possible light. They don't want to be doing it in the pouring rain. So some of ours has already been pushed back. You know, we've got projects now on the books now for January and February, even through to April. But at the moment, a little bit quiet. There is Neil Edwards responding to Ken Hatcher. Thank you, Ken. Yes, back online again today. Don't want to upset your day with details of Wales, but all I can say is it's tough out there. It's tough everywhere, but yeah, certainly Wales, not great at all. Sad news for the demolition industry. It would be terrible news if the worst case scenario were to happen and Squib were to go. As I say, they are probably just outside the top 10 in terms of turnover and size, but they are unquestionably one of the best known. Been around for 75 years. And as I said earlier, you know, if you are the incumbent chairman, director, whatever it might be, you know, you've inherited the firm from father, who inherited it from grandfather, and you are now responsible for potentially closing the doors. I cannot imagine how that must feel. And again, I will say, you know, my biggest thoughts are with the employees and with the creditors. But yeah, that would be a very, very bitter pill to swallow, I'm sure. Jim Turner says, question of the day. Anyone that starts a war or invades another country has to be right there leading from the front. If they believe in their cause that much, they can be right in the line of fire, like all the other poor buggers are. I'm not I'm not going down this line of politics, but anybody that's been following the ongoing mess over in Israel, Palestine, Gaza, and so on down the line, the way that Benjamin Netanyahu speaks, it's like he's quite enjoying the potential of destroying what is effectively a civilization. You know, the threats that he's making, you know, we will remove you from the face of the earth and all that kind of thing. Really? And I don't even buy into the women and children thing. Civilians. You know, even if you're an average Joe, a guy, you know, no political or religious leanings either way, and you happen to find yourself in Gaza Strip and there is somebody just up the road talking about removing you from the face of the earth. What the hell is that all about? I'm with Gary Muirhead. Peace, love, and harmony around the world. And I mean, I think a combination of what Gary said and what Jim has just said. You know, why is it? I mean, you remember when we decided we were going to go in pursuit of weapons of mass destruction, and there was 1 million people took to the streets of London to say, not on my watch, and the government went, yeah, we hear what you say, but we're going in anyway. And yet we'll have a referendum on Brexit or Scottish independence, but no referendum on going to war. Is that really the way it's supposed to be? Neil Edwards is looking a far more close to home. If you park in a disabled spot and you're not disabled, your car is immediately disabled. Good idea. I like that. The question of the day, going to tell Mick, it is, if you were king of the world for the day, what one rule would you impose? Peter McKenna, making excuses. He sounds like Reggie Perrin, leaves on the line and lions just outside Cirencester or something like that. But there is the question of the day. Graham Footy Williams is with us as well. Morning, Graham. Where are we? There we are. Peter McKenna joining the call. No religion. Religion's cause more deaths than any other sect. See, I am not in any way religious. I'm not in any way spiritual. I have no beliefs in any direction whatsoever. All I would say is, you know, there are some people for whom religion is a fantastic crutch. You know, they rely on it to get them through the day. And if that's the case, good luck to you. Good luck to you. And listen, if your faith gets you through the day, you have my blessing for that. But when it comes to actually pursuing a conflict or a war in the name of one imaginary character after another imaginary character, I don't see it myself. And particularly when you think about when you get down to the real bare bones of religion, you know, whether you're talking about the Bible or the Quran or whatever it might be, all of this talk about turn the other cheek and, you know, we're a religion of peace, but you're throwing bombs at people. How do you make sense of that? Mick Saunders rather says, Peter McKenna's Mark likes to call you Sick Note. Have a listen to a song called Sick Note. It's an Irish song, but a good laugh. I'm going to look that up. Question of the day. Andy Darvell says, get rid of all these useless lying politicians. Wouldn't know who to replace them with. That's above my pay grade. But there is an issue there. There is an old, I can't remember whether it was an article or a podcast or something. I remember Jeremy Clarkson coming up with a similar sort of thing. When you think about, let's take the police force, for example. You have the police force there's the Metropolitan Police and Greater Manchester Police, all of these regional police forces. And there is, you know, they all run their own show. They all abide by the same set of rules and circumstances and everything else. Do we really need somebody above them to tell them what to do? And the person that is Minister for Justice generally has no experience in that field whatsoever. They were Minister for Education last week, and next week they'll be Minister of Defence. So do we really need them? What value do they add? I'm with Andy Darvell. I wouldn't want the job personally, but I'm with him anyway. That relates to the crusher. Yeah, but still got to have a good operator who knows what they're doing, like flicking bits of metal out, and what can go... can't go in without a good operator. Yeah, people I think often overlook that. Crushers do need a decent operator on them. Most crushers are like MMA fighting. You either love them or hate them. Is MMA fighting the new Marmite? You either love it or hate it. Never watched an MMA fight in my life. I am all for the noble art of boxing, although even I, as in my advancing years, I can see that it's probably not long for this world. The Marmite of the construction and demolition industry. I thought that was me, actually, but thank you for that. Peter, unimpressed by the looks of the new Kleeman Mobicat. Question love, peace and harmony, and also if everyone gave me £1, I'd be happy as well. Wouldn't we all? Yeah, wouldn't we all? That's my whenever one of my kids goes off to the shops, would you like anything? My regular answer is yes, I'd like a £5 out of the till, please. They've never once delivered. Andy Darvell, don't you just love the raw power of a crusher? I do. Funnily enough, I can actually stand and watch, despite my dismissing them as big rocks one end, little rocks out the other. I'll stand and watch a crusher for ages and ages. Do find them endlessly fascinating, particularly when you think about what a jaw crusher actually is. You know, it's basically two pieces of metal squeezing rock to turn them into smaller bits of rock. Not particularly clever, but man alive, they're effective. Gary with AI, and Mark with blue crushers, and Ken with his pizza and chips. Whatever next. Keep watching, Peter. It gets worse from here on in. Like a good pit bull. Yeah, absolutely. The raw power of a crusher, raw power of a pit bull. Let's have a look. Yeah, do you know, I wish it were in my power to do so. I would love to showcase some companies doing things right. And I'm not just talking about mental health, although that was a key part of the video that we saw there from John Deere. But, you know, companies that do the job right, like Armac Demolition, like AR Demolition, companies that just do it right. They're not the biggest by any means, but they just do the job right. They look after their employees. They look after their local community. I'd love to have the ability to showcase the companies that are doing that. Peter McKenna, it's good to talk. It's just as bloody well, because let's face it, pretty much all I do. Andy Darvell says, I love watching graders work. Mesmerizing how they can take a rough area and within a few minutes, the whole area is like a billiard table. I like watching graders as well, but I'm more fascinated by 97 levers. I realise the modern graders aren't quite like that, but you go back to previous generations of cat graders. Levers, it was almost like playing a church organ. John Deere, pay attention, because this is important. We have a message here from Gary Muirhead. If only they sold their excavators in this country. Come on, John Deere, we're waiting. I'm going to echo that. Come on, John Deere, we're waiting. John Deere, if you decide to set up shop here in the UK, you can have your first year's advertising on here free of charge. They're a multi-billion-pound company. I don't believe for one moment that they're going to take me up on that, and I don't believe for one moment that would push them over the edge. But John Deere, we want you here. Looks a great company to work for. Starting to move that way over here slowly. Hopefully staff's health will be the most important thing in all companies soon. Let's hope. And then Mick says, if only that was true in the UK. When you think about it, when you think about the cost of ill health, and I mean ill health in terms of both physical and mental, it makes sense for companies to take maximum care of their staff. You've got somebody off on long-term sick, you're paying them and not getting anything in return. So whether they've got a bad back or a mental health issues, if they're on long-term sick, you're still paying them, but you're getting nothing in return. Surely it would make a lot more sense to just look after them in the first place, make sure they weren't physically or mentally impacted or injured by their job, and then we could all just get along, couldn't we? Wouldn't that be nice? Cat 395. Peter McKenna, who is clearly down with the kids, says French is hench. Remember my kids saying hench? Meant nothing to me. Graham Footy Williams, she is a big lady. She certainly is. Jim Turner enjoying the tune that accompanied the Cat 395. Peter McKenna says, sorry, what was on the film? I was too engrossed in the music. See, we aim to please. Now, I know Peter has thrown up a few bits and pieces here. This one didn't come up in my list, but there we are. King Alfred the Great, Saxon King of Wessex, believed to have died on this date in 899, apparently, which seems quite cheap for a king. Royal Charter steam clipper wrecked in Doulas Bay off the coast of Anglesey. Almost 460 dead. That was 1859. I'm not going to do all of these. What happened in 1977? The birth of Dame Sarah Story, Britain's most decorated female Paralympian. Her list of achievements as of October 2015 include being a 21-time world champion, 6 in swimming, 15 in cycling, 21-time European champion, 18 in swimming and 3 in cycling, and a holder of 72 world records. There is a sculpture of her and her husband Barney Story in their hometown of Disley in Cheshire. And yet I've never actually... Have I heard of Dame Sarah Stoney? I don't believe I have. Mick says Harry and Les Squibb will be turning over in their graves. Shame, but it was on the cards. There's not much I can add to that. As I say, the rumours have been circulating. I'm still hoping against hope. I'm sat here. I'll be typing all day with fingers crossed in the hope that somebody can do something and bring it back from the brink. Sad thing is times are hard in all industries, not just construction. We're seeing old, well-known companies go into the wall. The government have shit on everyone. It's time they were kicked into touch. I'd vote for that. Who have we got here? Andreas. I'm going to go with Andreas. Good morning. Good morning. And as you're here for the first time, let me do the right thing by you. If you've arrived here for the first time, you get that. Welcome, Andreas. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. Peter McKenna says, I've got an interview for a job on a recycling site this afternoon. Fingers crossed. Yes, the wine job is still in the running, but think after Christmas the wine job will take a downward slide. It's a good point. Good point. And waste never goes away. So yeah, let us know. But I've got my fingers crossed for, well, I had my fingers crossed for Squibb. I've now got my fingers crossed for Peter McKenna. It's going to be very uncomfortable typing today. 42 watching. Best I've ever seen on Facebook. And that would only be one channel. I as I say, we get a trigger when we've hit a new high. Haven't had one this morning, but it's been very busy. So yes, big view numbers today. Good. I mean, obviously, I would imagine our coverage of all things Squib related has probably contributed to that. Morning hats. That's Andy Dovell saying good morning to Dan Cullen. Tim. This is Mick. Someone just talking. Tim, Squib have been laying off over the last couple of years, downsizing the fleet. Alarm bells were ringing before COVID. As I say, I mean, I've been aware of issues for just over a year. Sounds like it goes back even further than that. That we are not going to affect right down the line on all construction. Any works, it is slow now. Yeah, it most certainly is. Grove Footy Williams cheering us up even further. I can see a third world war coming soon. Heard world war in mission next year. Well, let's hope that's not the case, eh? But as I said yesterday, although I did actually say in on the plus side, I will just hunker down and I'll be broadcasting from a bunker somewhere. I'm going nowhere. Had to take my son's dog to the vet this morning. Should have been there for 8:30. Had a bad night's sleep. Eventually got the dog there by 8:45. Hence being late for the greatest show on earth. Thank you, Peter, and all the best to the doggy. Big fans of the dogs here. There is a link to Sick Note by the Dubliners. Neil Edwards, trying to put a positive spin on things. To alleviate the bad news today, I'll forward to the show a proposed new £11 million project in Brighton, East Sussex. The Sunshine Coast of the UK contains demolition of an existing 2-storey building previously used as a care home. Please do that. Please do that. It would be lovely to have a bit of good news. Posted to the group, Mark. That's over on the WhatsApp, I would imagine. Good morning, Adrian Hardesty. How the devil are you? You enjoying that 3CX? Haven't seen Adrian Hardesty on the chat, but good morning, Adrian. If you're lurking in the background, the best man I ever seen driving a grader was a man who used to work for John Jones. His name was Tin Lakes because he had no legs. They were tin. Peter McKenna, are you paying attention to this? But my best mate works on a quarry, a 70-ton cat, no legs either. Why? Are the two things connected? Are they working in this sort of industry because they have no legs, or did the industry cause them to have no? I feel like we've not got the full story here. People, let us know. I do apologise. My hooter is very itchy this morning. Operation tomorrow, Peter. I've got no more fingers to cross, but I will do my level best. Andy Dovell is doing it for me by the looks of it. He says, fingers crossed for you, Peter. Let's hope, mate. Yeah, absolutely. Here's hoping, Andrew, and not a good record lately. The NHS regards to cancellations. Another great British institution struggling at the moment. Can't help thinking that one was entirely down to those pesky politicians that Andy Darvell was talking about earlier. Not much more we can say. As I've said repeatedly, my thoughts are with everybody involved at Squibb, be they employees, directors, owners, founders, creditors, everybody. Thoughts are with everybody at Squibbs and linked to Squibbs at the moment. I'll be back tomorrow. We do have a bit more information. Chris lost his legs in an industry accident. His employer made adjustments and he continues to work for them afterwards. Well, fair play to the employer. Yeah, fair play. And I have to say, I have seen a few examples of this, particularly at exhibitions, where people have been rendered disabled for one reason or another, and their employer, rather than let them go, they've put in things like wheelchair lifts into big excavators and that kind of thing. It shouldn't be the standout. It shouldn't be, look what we've done. Isn't this a great PR exercise? You would like to think that would be the norm, but I do like to see it nonetheless. I've got to go to the door office again this afternoon. I'm guessing that's the Dole office. Don't know. Andy Dovell. Yeah, I get the issue with cancelled ops. Big issues with that. On the other hand, the NHS are looking after my father-in-law awesomely as he has weeks to live, if not less, with blood cancer. Poor man. Wow. Andy, listen. Having lost both of my parents last year, and seen rather too much of NHS hospitals, it goes without saying. The staff looking after my mum were phenomenal. Did everything they possibly could. But yeah. Enjoy your day, folks. Thanks for a spanking show as always, Mark. You're more than welcome, Peter. Mick says, right, the hound giving me the eye. He wants a pedal. Stay safe, one and all. Catch you later. Take care, Mick. Give my best to the beast. And in my thoughts and prayers, pal, that's Peter McKenna talking to Andy Darvell. You lot are a wonder. You put a smile on my face every day, even on days like today when it's not particularly cheery. Stay safe, guys. See you tomorrow. You most certainly will. I'll be back, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, hopefully with a bit more good news tomorrow. Until then, everybody, have a great day. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you all on the morrow.